Hey, what it is, y'all, and thanks for tuning back in here to another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Y'all seem to like this content here, coming a little bit forward and foremost. We're here about this Hypermotard. Well, we got another video here for you guys. So let's talk about this. If everyone's thinking about getting a Hypermotard, because I actually gave it a really good review in my last one, and I still really do love this bike. So, let me ask you, if you're going to ride this bike or have it as your sole and only bike, or maybe a second bike, is this bike actually a good commuter? And I'll have to say, well, it's not bad, but it's not great. And let me tell you the biggest reason why it's not great first, so we can get that out of the way, because I think why we all want this bike is, we already all know it's super fun and so on and so forth, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. The biggest reason this bike is not the greatest commuter is solely because you just sit so upright and you're very tall. We call this bike the giraffe. That's its nickname. It's just very tall. When you sit on it, it's very tall. A lot of people ask me how tall I am. I'm 5'10", and I still cannot flat foot this motorcycle. My other buddy's 6'1", and if he's in shorts, he can just flat foot it, but if he's in jeans, forget about it. So you got to be very tall to flat foot the bike, so you kind of got to do the old school trick, you know, where you got to just get that gangsta lean to one side so that you can comfortably flat foot it, or you just kind of step a little bit more on your tippy toes here, you know, so that you can, you know, balance the bike. But overall, I mean, do I feel uncomfortable or anything, you know, stopping or anything like that? Absolutely not. But the bike has to be tall given the style of the motorcycle that it is. You know, you like to jump off curbs, do endos, do wheelies, you know, all that good stuff that you're buying this bike to act like a complete ass on it anyway. So, but let me tell you also why it is a good commuter. So the worst reason that it's not a good commuter is because it's so tall. And I'm going to have to say that's got to be the worst reason of why it doesn't make a good commuter. The wind, because you're so high up, you're kind of like almost worse than a parachute like you are on the X Diavo or on like a Harley. But you're so high up and you sit very straight, you're like a brick when the wind is coming at you. So you're just like, you know, always getting, you know, blown off. You guys like my hand gestures? Ha. So if you're going faster than, you know, 75 miles an hour, it starts to really become kind of a nuisance and unbearable. But 60, 70 miles an hour, it can do it no problem. However, I can tell you I've had this bike well over 140. Yes, this Supermoto will do over 140. However, that's also one of its greatest traits as opposed to a standard Supermoto, because the standard ones, of course, they have, you know, 30, 40 horsepower, and this one has well over 100. But this one also weighs 200 pounds more than a standard traditional style dirt bike. So, you know, you get the 6 gears, which makes it a great commuter. It gets actually really good gas mileage considering how heavy it is and what it is. So riding it is super comfortable. It's got a really plush seat. Yes, I'm saying this Ducati has a really good seat. And even if you want to have some fun with it with somebody else, you know, you got some rear pegs and such so that you can put a passenger here on the back. And I've done. And the passenger was, obviously don't act like an ass, but the passenger was more than happy and more than comfortable. There's probably very different to anything that they've normally been on, such as like a crotch rocket or anything like that. So they're going to feel, of course, higher up because the seat, obviously, it's, you know, that banana seat, it is raised. So they're going to be a little bit higher than you. But even going around turns and leaning, the bike is super comfortable. And what makes it a good commuter is the fact that it does have 6 gears and it does have that amount of horsepower. So that when you're cruising in 6th gear, I don't know what the RPM is. It's probably at like 3,000 RPM at, you know, 65 miles an hour or something. The RPMs stay low and it drives on the street, you know, real good. And you drop your passenger off and then wham, right into doing some wheelies and having some fun. The suspension isn't too hard. It's not too soft. Of course, you can make your adjustments, you know, in the rear here, your compression and your rebound, you know, to make it a little bit harder, and you can adjust your preload, and you can do a few adjustments as well on the front. obviously depending on the style of riding that you're doing and the amount of hoonigan type shit that you really want to play with the bike. This model here, I have the white. I don't have the SP. The SP is designed with more track orientation because it comes with the Owen suspension. I didn't get that because I didn't plan on tracking this bike ever at all. I really bought it to just do the exact same thing that I do with my Groms, the hooligan stuff. And of course, I took off my cat muffler. I still haven't built my extension piece for my exhaust here to finish it out. Now, I will touch base on this. Is it loud? Absolutely, yes. I like it loud. I like it that other people can hear it so that other people will pay attention. But also, of course, like I said, I like the noise. No, it's not the prettiest sight right there, but riding it, it sounds great. A lot of other people like it. I've actually had a lot of other people say, hey, what kind of exhaust is that? And I'm like, it's nothing. It's just straight pipe. They're like, wow, that sounds better than my Termi. I said, take it off, man. Have, switch it up a little bit. You can always put it back on. And I still have the factory can. Now, because the exhaust exits right here, and this is where your ass sits, right here, and it's pretty much parallel to your ear. So this is the only part that kind of makes it annoying. So when I build my custom exhaust, it'll come up here and exit kind of like an SP exhaust, and then it'll be a little bit back. Might be a little bit more annoying towards your passenger, but then again, we also might build something to deflect it and bring it down here. I don't know, the possibilities are endless. But however, if the exhaust, if it still has the factory exhaust, meaning the factory can, it comes to like right around here or so, it's not obnoxious or anything at all. It's got a cat in it, it's got a muffler, it's quiet, and it overall makes it a good commuter bike. So for a supermoto, I think that it's probably the best commuter bike that you can get because you're not really buying the supermoto as a full-blown commuter bike, but it's got decent tires on it that you want to run around, and it's got top speed. You don't have to worry about not being able to get out of the way. And then, of course, when you want to go to a closed course or a parking lot or something like that, like you see me do, and just go have some fun, and that's exactly what it is. So I think as a supermoto, it's a really good commuter bike, but just brace yourself mainly for the wind because you're sitting so tall and you're sitting so far upright. Heat, of course, if it's hot, as it is here in South Florida, it's a little bit of an issue. Nothing too crazy, but it is a little bit of an issue. But again, as soon as you start moving, it's more than fine. It's more than perfect. The bike cools down right away. The cooling is down. This bike obviously is, yes, it has performance built into it, but it obviously doesn't have the same type of performance characteristics as some of the other bikes that are here in my stable. So it doesn't generate obviously as much heat. And even actually farting around and, doing your hooligan type stuff, I think that last video I shot when I was doing a couple of the wheelies and stuff, it was like 100 degrees out. Now, the bike itself was just getting hot and the fans kicked on, but it wasn't, burning my leg or anything like that. So when you do get stuck in traffic, it really all isn't that bad. So that to me is something to really take into consideration as far as comfortability wise and riding the bike and commuting with it. Grips from the factory are outstanding. They got these nice knobby grips on here. A little bit rough if you don't ride with gloves. Sometimes I like to ride with gloves, sometimes I don't. But if you have gloves on, they really bite into the gloves and they work really well. The mirrors, they're okay. They could have been better, but at the same time, they're not bad at all. I'm actually planning on leaving them on this bike because when you're just commuting and you're not dicking around or anything, it's nice to actually have them and not always have to look over your shoulder. So I actually am going to leave them on. The hand guards, some people to put knobby tires on their bike. I didn't really think these would really come much in handy, but however, you don't realize how much wind is actually taken away until you stick your hand outside of the hand guard and you're like, oh wow, those are actually kind of nice. Nonetheless, they double as your turn signals and they work really well. I'll give you a quick demonstration. As you can see. Headlights are really good. It comes with a halogen. It has LED running lights here on the side. You can get in there and see. I am going to be swapping it out for an LED or an HID just to bring it up to a little bit more modern times. Come on, Ducati, you're slacking on it. You got the most premium Supermoto on the line and you can't even upgrade my headlights. You got LEDs on everything else, but that's all right. And then aesthetic-wise, I really haven't changed it. And I think it really comes almost perfect from the bike. I just took, obviously, that big tail section off and just remounted the plate. So if you're looking into the Supermoto, is it a good commuter? If you're not doing a lot of highway driving, absolutely. And you like to do wheelies and endos and have fun, absolutely. You guys will really enjoy this bike. It is very tall. I don't recommend lowering it because it takes away a lot of the integrity and what the bike is designed to do. But when you do ride it and enjoy it, everyone that I've actually let ride it has pretty much fallen in love with it. And whether they decide to buy a Supermoto from Ducati or like a Husky or a KTM or even get their own like Yamaha and put lights on it and, you know, make it road legal. It is a really fun bike. You just really can't help but have fun on it. Just like being here on the Groms over here on the corner. So, but again, you know, go for a ride at your local Ducati dealership or maybe your local motorsports dealership and ride a Supermoto and see what you like about it. Again, I hope you guys liked what you saw. Don't forget to subscribe and more Ducati content coming at you soon. You can also check me out here at the Speedbug, same name here as YouTube, here on Instagram, and we will check you out here for another episode here on the Speedbug channel. Deuces.